Truth time. I've been a little quiet on releasing episodes recently as I'm back doing some more live podcasting at Digital Construction Week 2025, which is happening at the start of June, in just a few weeks after this episode gets released. Hence, heads down, prepping, researching, all that kind of wonderful stuff. So, following this episode, I'll have some recordings live from DCW to share with you. So, if you haven't already, subscribe and you won't miss a thing. And that's kind of a seamless segue into this episode. Because if you missed out on last year's recordings, you're in for a treat. In this week's special episode, we're revisiting the dynamic conversations recorded live at Digital Construction Week 2024. As the construction industry continues to innovate at a faster and faster pace, DCW 2024 provided the perfect platform for thought leaders to share insights on digital transformation that is shaping our built environment. These conversations underscore the industry's commitment to embracing digital transformation. As we reflect on just some of the highlights each episode provided, it's clear that the integration of technology in construction is an evolution of efficiency, collaboration, and innovation. So let's get straight to some of the highlights, shall we, as we dive straight into Digital Construction Week, Construction Disrupted Podcast 2024 live. So here's a quick recap on the thought leaders that I spoke to in 2024. First up, we have Ben Huskisson from Gleeds talking about digital adoption. Then we spoke to Chris from Procore about digital transformations. Moving on to Roger Bradbury from Chime about site efficiency and management, before we took a step towards project management and objective data with Andy Steele from Build Dots. We transitioned there to Christina from Autodesk, who took us very kindly through cloud construction technology, what that means and how it works, before Jose joined me for streamlining processes, and Jose was from D-Roots. We then moved on to Varun from N-Circle, who went deep into machine learning. And then Nero from Yardlink joined us, and he very kindly talked us through supply chain transformation and what's happening in the industry at this moment in time. And finally, we were joined by Anand from Twinit, who spoke very fondly and passionately about digital twins. So let's get back to that top of the list and start with Ben Huskisson from Gleeds talking about digital adoption.
How do you foster the right culture then in Gleeds to gain continuous improvements?
Okay, good question. So, I mean, I was the MD of India and we did leverage digital transformation. And so my new role now is the CDO for Gleeds, and we're looking to do that for the group. And one of the key messages I've got is communication is absolutely essential. And that's why I came up with the formula DT equals 4P. It's relatively simple and people understand that's why we are doing digital transformation, to deliver better performance, productivity, proposition, and profitability. And the 5 key things that are needed for digital transformation, which we've talked about, the augmented systems, the connected technology, the better use of data, and the proposition. And the 5th being cognizant people and culture. That is hugely important, because without that, and I think there's a lot of businesses underestimate that, and they do focus on the digital and the tech and the data. Culture is massive. So I follow a process of ADKAR: awareness, desire, knowledge, and ability reinforcement. We have to make people aware within the business at very senior level about digital transformation and the benefits. So we focus on the why. Then the knowledge and sorry, the desire is absolutely key. You have to make sure that there's a desire to digitally transform, whether it be on a macro level or a digital transformation project. That desire has to be there. So you have to spend a lot of time with senior people in the organization to make sure that desire is there. So you have the buy-in. So it's explaining the why and the what it is that we're going to do. Because without that, believe it or not, people will actually, instead of supporting something, they will actually actively try not support it. And I see that happen, and it never ceases to amaze me that it does happen, but it does happen. So making sure the awareness and the desire is at a very senior level is very important in terms of driving that culture.
Okay.
And then the knowledge, making sure people within the business know about what it is we're about to do, making sure that they have the ability. So having a training on the digital transformation macro and micro projects is so important. So we have an upskill program, which is again something that we do within the digital team, which is all about that, improving the business's data literacy with it throughout the business, data skills, to technology skills, etc. So all these things are important. And then the reinforcement piece is the final piece in the jigsaw that helps you deliver this culture. And that's about constantly reinforcing the message, the communication, explaining the why we're doing it, what it is, and how we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to embed a digital transformation project or the macro level within the business. And it's only when it becomes habit that you know it's working, and that's when you will get the DT equals 4P.
There you go. I love these acronyms. I'm a huge fan of analogies and acronyms.
Here's Chris from Procore discussing digital transformations.
How do Procore solutions empower construction teams to collaborate more effectively, share data productively, and make informed decisions like you were just mentioning there?
Yeah, I mean, we all know construction is a team sport, right? No one company builds any project. And so it all comes back down to transparency and trust. Do people have a place that they trust that they can get the information they need in order to get their job done? And what Procore does is it affords them that place to go and makes it accessible to them on Android or a tablet in the field, that they know, hey, what I'm getting from here is the right information. I have it when I need it. And now I can go and do the next thing, right? And so our ability to collaborate across company stakeholders and all the way from those who are directors in businesses managing a whole portfolio of projects down to the person installing a unitized wall panel on a multi-story residential project, they all have the things that they need inside of the platform. And it drives accountability, it drives accessibility, which then drives that transparency and then builds that trust.
Is there any level of stakeholder, like you said then, from top to bottom, that you get more resistance from?
So field personas, you know, site managers, and actually those doing the physical work are usually some of the first ones to be like, oh, I don't need that to do my job. But they're also the first ones that it helps them one time, and then they're like, I can't imagine doing this without it.
For sure.
And the other part of it is it's probably more generational than it is by role, right? We have a generation that is graduating, retiring, exiting our industry that didn't grow up with technology. Like clipboards was technology that got introduced to them. Like that was a new thing, right? And so they sometimes struggle with just adopting technology, doesn't matter what it is, in its own right. Now, the interesting part about that is the next generation coming into the industry, they all grew up having technology in everything they do.
Yeah, digital native, right?
So they're a digital native. And so they're like, I want more of it, but they need to understand how to use it.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say it's necessarily a role dependent, like where they are in the organization. I think it's very much a generational component, because we have executives that are customers who are like, they live and breathe the data and they're in the dashboards every single day.
Yeah.
And then we have, field personas who have been in the industry for 35 years and are like, I've never used anything like this to do my job before. Why do I need to do it now? So more probably around on that generational piece than the level inside of the organization.
Yeah. Interesting.
And now we're joined by Roger Bradbury from Chime, who discussed site efficiency and management.
How are you convincing those that are less tech savvy that it's the future? So I'm thinking of those on site, which we talked about time management and stuff.
Yeah. So again, our software is in the hands of the operatives. So they're not desk bound. They're not used to using Outlook and Power Project and even Excel necessarily, or Word or PowerPoint or all those various bits of kit. But they are used to using an iPhone or Android. COVID changed a lot. You had to download an app to order a Nando's from COVID.
Yes.
Prior to COVID, we were beating a bit of kickback on the businesses thinking it would be okay to ask their guys to download an app on their phone. That really hasn't been a problem. I can confidently say if they haven't got a phone, we've got various options.
Yeah.
You can sign in on a tablet, or I could sign you in if I got the permissions. So we've been around the houses. Everyone's got a smartphone. Everyone uses a smartphone. Your banking app's on your smartphone.
Yeah.
I sort of don't. It's more about the training of it and making it work first time and not just go, bloody app doesn't work. I mean, we all know the frustration of technology that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't quite do what it was supposed to do. And so you've got to make it. I always think with tech, you've got to make it fun to use to a point, nice to use. I think Apple was like the symbol of that, is the iPhone. Remember when you first got the iPhone, it was like, this is magic. And obviously I wouldn't suggest that Chime is magic, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's bordering on magic.
I think it is, actually.
Yeah.
Like refrigeration, magic.
Excellent.
Next up, Andy Steele from Build Dots, discussing project management and objective data.
Just want to get into a little bit more detail on that, because there's a quote from yourself again. We like quotes from you. Right, so Build Dots is all about sharing real-time data within a collaborative process. But as we all know, success only comes from utilizing the right data. I think that's key. You once stated that the organizations need to shift the focus from solely tracking outcomes like schedule and budget progress to closely monitoring the underlying factors that contribute to project success. What should we be monitoring to drive such success?
Thank you. Great question. Look, there's as I say, making the marker on your program, which is showing whether you're ahead of program, and so sometimes trades are ahead. Let's give credit where credit is due. That sometimes happens. Doing your monthly cost value reconciliations is vital. But if you not understand truly what the risk of that completion date is going to be, both of those are irrelevant. And they're lagging indicators, really. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to a point of leading indicators. And what we then do is so we don't present our customers just with data. Mm-hmm. We translate that. We have a full customer success team who take the data, basically work through it and provide it in an information form so that you can sit down with the project team and actually say, look, the data's saying we've got a problem here. We think this is significant enough for you to take notice of it. And, we started with a report we did back in 2023, which is about inefficiencies. And And we started with a simple one, which was how much of the building, which is available for you to do the next stage of operation, how much of that building are you actually using? And again, it was below 50%. So we're only working in less than 50% of the available building. Now, that could be because of resources. It could be because of logistics. It could be because of manufacturing. It could be design. It could be for a load of reasons. But by posing that question, we start to ask why.
Yeah.
And it could be, simplistically, TowerBot, that your hoisting facilities are insufficient. And the beauty of this sort of data is that we can start to feed it back into pre-construction.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got that. As I said, we've got PPC. We've got returning work visits, how often we come back into an area. We've got the number of loose ends that you're leaving in any place where you're just not completing the work. And then we've got this predictive pace. And one of the other examples we have, again, is, we've got a trade that's recorded as 64% on program, and another trade is at 62% behind program. And it's all to do with that one of those trades had started too early, and that actual output per week is nowhere near the volume that it needs to be.
Yeah, all right.
But at a snapshot in time, it looks like they're on program.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of data where you go, you think it's this trade that's going to cause you a problem, but it's not. It's actually it's the electrical contractor or the sprinkler or the insulation person. It's just that, schedule that program position at a point in time is just pretty much meaningless, really. And
It seems that you can almost see the unseen in a way. You utilize the data, and which is no surprise. You do the right calculations, you get a certain outcome, a certain solution. Whereas if you did do that calculation, it would probably be a different outcome or a different.
Yeah. And lean principles have tried to do this over the last 10, 15 years. But the difficulty with theirs is that their base point is subjective data.
Yeah.
And, when you've got one trade basically saying I'm being delayed by that trade and you can't really unpick it, then it's very difficult to actually move forward in this collaborative world that we've just been talking about. That collaboration can really come into play because nobody's got anywhere to hide. It's a transparent world. And yes, contracts get in the way, and the formal contract and contractual positioning and everything else. But if you come back to what we're trying to do here, we're trying to build a program. And it's a simple thing. It's like, back to sporting analogy, I suppose.
Fantastic.
We don't need a team of superstars. We need a team of supply chain people who work together, who work with the information, who work with the project team. And it's the blend of that team which is going to drive the success of that project. And that's the bit that excites the living daylights out of me. Why I'm here, why I'm at my age still coming to work and involved with the technology. Why I got involved with technology is because I think that's so transformative from where we've been.
Yeah.
That, as I say, you got to love the industry for what we do, but my goodness, you want to knock a few heads together as well,
Next, I'm joined by Christina from Autodesk, who talks us through cloud construction technology.
From your perspective, what have been the biggest changes within cloud tech and also within Autodesk over the past 6 years you've been there?
It's a good question. So I think there are several notable changes. I think at the beginning we were talking more about, a few years back, we were talking about how we can bring everyone in one common data environment and make sure that all the workflows are executed from one CDE.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is different because depending on the digital maturity of a customer or the size of the projects that they are working with, it's not enough to have one cloud offering or one CDE. So it's about having an open ecosystem about making sure that your cloud offering as a tech vendor can connect to the rest of the industry, can talk to other offerings, is really open and customizable in a way depending on the needs. We recently did an internal research among our customer base, and we found out that on average, customers use 3 to 5 tools.
Right.
So is it realistic to use only one tool on a construction project? I doubt. And I don't think the reality is like that. So that's one of the trends. Moving from this concept of a closed CDE from paper to CDE to moving to the CDE, but having it as an open ecosystem, operating in an open ecosystem where all supply chain project stakeholders can really connect. So it's about that common communication, that connectivity, and of course, data. Data is in the middle of all that, right? It's not just about dumping the data in a cloud repository. It's about what can you do with this data? How can you leverage the insights for predictive maintenance to prevent the mistakes from happening, to minimize risks on other projects, to learn from what you are doing on your current projects with this data. So it's also about the changes are related to how customers are leveraging the data, and this dictates how technology vendors are changing the way they build their products, because customers just want the data. They want the granular data, interoperable model data that they can just they open up the model, they get the data point that they need, and they can connect it to any part of their project ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess cloud technology is moving and needs to move.
What I find interesting is that I think what most people think of is that technology is driving change. And that is correct. But it's the requirements that are driving the change. People, what they actually need is driving the technology, not the other way around. But I think if you were to ask most people, that aren't within this space, they would say that technology is driving that change.
Yeah, so I think I have something to say to that. So I think it's almost like bi-directional. So for instance, we know that construction, if we look at one of those McKinsey diagrams, we know that construction is one of the slowest industries to grow and evolve and adapt to changes. But at the same time, technology, let's bring up AI, the buzzword of DCW of the recent years. These things don't change construction industry immediately, but what they do is that they create so much disruption that they almost like push the industries like construction to start thinking differently. And it doesn't happen from one day to the other, but it helps to get that kick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's all about any change. It's all this technology, whether we're talking about AI or sustainability, new technology related to sustainability. It's all about change management, and change management is all about people. So it's almost like asking, what comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? But I do believe that people are at the heart of this. And actually, there was a presentation almost before our recording, and there was a statement that said that people are at the heart of changes. And the talk was about what can you do to address all these challenges related to change management, new technology. How can you upskill people? So it all comes down to people.
Yeah, it always has, and it always will. And that's the main thing that I'm getting from everybody that I talk to. It's as much about the people, and we get so focused on the technology. It can be easy to forget the people. and that's critical.
I mean, technology is important. I am the person from a personal perspective. I do believe that we are living in a world where, with advancements that are like this, and from the technological standpoint, you are either adapting to this change or you are staying behind.
Yeah.
So the pace of change can be different depending on the company, on their digital maturity, readiness to invest, skill set, lots of different factors. But we definitely need to embrace technology. But it's not about replacing what we do. It's how can we use this technology to work in a more efficient manner, to minimize the non-critical work, to really focus on what matters, especially in construction, because time is money in construction. So if technology can help us to save time, it means it can save us, to help us to save money.
Founder of DeRoots, Jose, joins me now to talk about streamlining processes.
Well, let's get into that a little bit more.
Okay, sorry.
A key part of what you deliver is the bespoke nature of the software that you provide. And we know that nearly every construction project will be different in some way, hence the bespoke nature. But this can cause problems with workflows and efficiencies. So why is it so important to offer a customizable approach to the software that you provide?
So we have our products, which provide, a fixed ways of doing things anyway. So on the bespoke side, on the custom side, I always find it very interesting because even we have clients coming to us just for project specific requirements because their client, they want this way and that way. Achieving whatever they want, the A, B, or C, for example, in ways, it takes time so many times. Those are easy. And, when there is a nature where, for example, there's time to be safe, because at the end, when you want to invest in custom software, you need to look for a return, okay? Custom software will be always more expensive because you have to create something from scratch and there will be different costs. So for sure, you need to find, but other ways as well, I've seen a lot of cases like this where people used to pay, tools, subscription tools for other third-party companies that go that way, that like us, for example, we have the popularity related to Revit, others, which they used to spend a lot of money in these third-party applications, plugins, add-ons, or add-ins. So, and, with large teams, a large cost, some of them start to realize that maybe if I create my own tool, and I do the way I need, on my way, not the software way, that it takes the rule, because at the end, when you get a routine, we are on the routine. It could be your routine or could be ours routine. Yeah. See my point? So that's, people are seeing value on that. And we have seen clients replacing full packets of paid tools, which could be quite expensive, on the early basis, and replacing for a much less cost. Of course, the initial cost can be high, but at the end, it will be, the upgrades will be much lower, I will say.
And it's bespoke to them as well.
And it's more efficient to them. It is the way you want. And of course, there are limitations in terms of APIs or what we can do software. But that's the beauty of the customization. We create tools in the way that the client wants to, the outputs or wants to, and it's just not about automation many times. Let's be clarify that point. It's about also enhancing workflows in many ways, reducing the error, the human error. That's important. It happens, and making things more efficient in terms of data accuracy. Because with tools, and remember one thing, very important part of software, if we have rules, we can automate, we can make something or even improve. With no rules,
You can't help. Yeah. And then it just becomes an absolute nightmare because everyone it's the Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And believe when it comes to modeling, and it is a Wild West because you can achieve results, in different different approaches. You can get the same results in different ways, which is even for us is hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, excellent.
The founder of Encircle, Varun, joins me now to talk about machine learning.
Let's look a little bit more internally then at Encircle Tech. So machine learning and AI can certainly make admin tasks more efficient, within any sector, specifically construction. A 2017 McKinsey report stated that construction firms could boost productivity by as much as 50% through real-time analysis of data, which Encircle Tech does fantastically. Although it was published 7 years ago, I'm pretty sure the percentages will have increased, and 50% is probably 60, 70, 80. But if we look internally, how are you and Encircle Tech using machine learning and AI?
We in Encircle we build solutions that fast track our end-to-end offering. With a lot of companies, we operate by understanding their process, replicating that first manually, and then optimizing it on day-to-day basis with automations. So let's take an example of Scan-to-BIM. We are building our own solution, which is machine learning based, trying to first identify components from the point cloud data, because that also adds a lot of value to a lot of companies. Segment the point cloud data and then create BIM models all automatically from the BIM data. From the point cloud data. There are many use cases, not just internally, but we have worked on many use cases with our customers. One of our customers is into buying old properties where undervalue an old constructed 100-year-old house exists, which is underperforming, not energy efficient, replacing that with the state-of-the-art house with all the modern amenities and sell it at a premium cost. But even in city like London, you will find 100,000 plus houses which are probably more than 50-year-old. How do you go after the right property which can give you the maximum ROI? Again, we built a lot of extracted a lot of data from various sources, 144 parameters, trying to stack rank the properties that can give you maximum ROI. They are currently most undervalued as compared to the vicinity, but delivering maximum value once it is upgraded with latest house. So definitely different use cases from our Scan-to-BIM solutions to this property identification to even competitive analysis. I mean, companies are investing in competitive analysis because you can't go after every RFP that is thrown at you. You want to prioritize. AI can help you screen 100 RFPs and probably bring it down to 5 that you need to really invest into.
And then that's where the human element comes in and you make that decision.
That's when you win. But if you use AI to say, can I go after this RFP, yes or no? Not the right.
It becomes a gamble.
It becomes a gamble and you don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Here's Nero from Yardlink discussing supply chain transformation.
We're going to stick with certain things that you've actually reported and stated on your website. So a Yardlink report surveying senior procurement decision makers in the UK. It was titled "The True Cost of the Construction Supply Chain." Interesting. Cited that just under 3/4 of all respondents are still using manual methods like you highlighted, such as spreadsheets, a pen.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't even write my shopping list with pen and paper anymore. And they use this to manage procurement and site inventories. You know, it's still crazy stuff. So where are the opportunities within the supply chain to start reducing costs and boosting profitability?
So one of the big areas, when we talk about this true cost of the supply chain, in particular, the true cost of hire. So we're talking about hire equipment in this case. A lot of contractors, customers will be thinking about the weekly rental price or the hire rate of a piece of equipment. And that's great, right? And they'll be, negotiating this weekly rate and comparing different suppliers. What's missed is the total cost of that hire. A hire has a life cycle on a project. From the day it's delivered to the day it's collected, right? Damage happens, breakdowns happen, downtime happens. And our job as Yardlink is to basically maximize uptime. We don't want to, our mission is to basically minimize downtime at all costs. So that's what gets hidden, this true cost of hire. Essentially, your cost inflates dramatically as soon as you have downtime because you've got an idle piece of equipment just sitting on the site, right? And this is what is sort of missed, right? So you're negotiating on that weekly rental rate, and you may have saved £5 per week, but you're not remembering, or you're not realizing actually over the lifetime of this rental, you may have saved that £5 up front, but actually you may be spending an extra thousands because of all the downtime on site. You've got contractors sitting there waiting for work to be done. And if you've got a piece of idle equipment that's broken down, you can't get that work done, right? So it's hugely costly. Yeah.
So a little bit like airlines, I suppose, they want them up in the air. They don't want them sat on the ground.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's absolutely right.
So how do you deal with things like, I suppose any issues that might happen or broken equipment? How does that work?
Well, we act as an arbitrator almost, the facilitator. It's a really contentious area.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because as a supplier, you want to deliver pristine equipment and receive pristine equipment. Ultimately, we're talking about construction. Right?
Yeah.
Stuff gets knocked around, damaged. There's wear and tear. So when equipment goes back, there's, again, this he said, she said mentality.
Exactly.
The supplier may say something got damaged. The contractor might refute that and say, no, it didn't. It arrived like that. And there's no proof of record here, source of truth. So that's like where we come in and try and act as that source of truth. In many cases for contractors, and we found that some suppliers, they may not act truthfully all the time. They may not even know, to be honest, because they themselves may not know the quality of the equipment they delivered in the first place, right? So we try and I guess work for the customer, work for the contractor, and go back to the supplier and say, hey, well, look, we don't think this damage charge is fair. Or the rate you're charging to replace this piece of equipment, again, we don't think is quite fair. Like, we know what the market rates are.
Yeah.
We have a lot of data. So Yardlink, as a business, we collect a lot of data to benchmark replacement costs, parts costs, just machinery costs. Right?
Yeah.
So we kind of know where the market is, and that's where we can actually add a lot of value to the customer who doesn't have this information, right? So we save a lot of money for the contractor. And just a lot of time of this back and forth that would typically happen between both parties.
Yeah, exactly. It's even the just he said, she said, and the communications and the dialogue, that's costing money. So anything you can do to reduce that is a win. And with the fact that you just said you're collecting a lot of data, it just highlights the important part you actually play. And the more information and data that you collect, the more jobs that you work on, the easier those disparities become because of all the data that you've had previously.
Absolutely.
Which is huge benefit.
Exactly. Data is super powerful.
Finally, Anand from Twinit joined me to discuss digital twins.
Okay, so according to Markets and Markets, the global digital twin market has risen by over 60%, will rise by 60% in the next 4 years. So it's clear that there will be reshaping how enterprises operate, offering unprecedented insights and capabilities across various industries. But bringing it back to the construction sector, why are they so essential to this particular industry?
The construction industry has some of the most complex ecosystems, as you know, right? The contract structures are such that there are several stakeholders, with several specialisms. If someone needs to get a holistic view of a capital program, one has to deal with very different types of data from different providers of data and different tools. Digital twins represent the best way to bring data together and produce insights and actionable information for people to make decisions. So we see the value of digital twins across the whole life cycle of construction of an asset, starting from planning. It could be urban planning or if it's a planning for a particular singular building. Either way, there are use cases around that. There's use cases around design, use cases in construction, commissioning, and the handover, and then in continual operations thereafter. And whole new services can be created, or new revenue streams or value streams can be created by doing that. So we see very, very compelling opportunities, but there are some challenges, right, in terms of how that will actually be realized in this sector.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll come on to some of those in a little while, I think.
to put that into context, in doing some research into Twinit, stumbled upon a video of your VP of product management and marketing discussing what seems like an endless list of opportunities for the Twinit platform, from stimulating the movement of people through an airport terminal, didn't even cross my mind, connecting to VMS and Internet of Things systems, measuring the performance and health of a building, and even helping whole regions build and sell real estate, as you were alluding to a little bit earlier, and attract investors and tenants. What projects, though, are you most proud of?
So we started our journey around the built environment, and we are certainly very proud of the work that our platform has enabled in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where the Vision 2030 and all the new developments that are happening there. There's very little legacy to protect there in terms of what the vision stands for.
Okay,
everything is being created from a digital centric perspective. So I think if I were to call out the most impressive set of solutions that have been created, it would be in that region. But having said that, I think there is a lot more happening around what digital twins are and where it can be applied beyond the built environment. And I can talk to that too.